Hello, I'm Lucie Lederhendler. I'm the Artistic Director and Curator here at the Art Gallery of Southwestern Manitoba. Thank you for joining us for this guided tour with Mélanie Rocan of her new exhibition, Mending. I'm just going to introduce her with a bio, once again, that I have to read off. Mélanie Rocan's artistic activities include a survey exhibition organized by Anne MacDonald at the Doris McCarthy Gallery in Scarborough, which included a catalogue and essay by José Truand-Brisebois, the contemporary curator of the National Gallery of Canada. Her work has been included in numerous group exhibitions: Crossing Natures at Tom Thomson Gallery in Owen Sound, My Winnipeg at La Maison Rouge, Paris, and Carte Blanche Painting Survey at MoCA Toronto in 2008. She was a 3-time semi-finalist in the RBC Painting Competition exhibition, which traveled to galleries across Canada, including the Power Plant in Toronto, the Musée d'Art Contemporain in Montreal, and the Contemporary Art Gallery of Vancouver. Her work has been reviewed in Border Crossings magazine, Maclean's magazine, and the Globe and Mail. And I'm so happy to have her here. I've been a fan since before I moved to Manitoba, one of those Manitoban painters who I was just delighted to be in the orbit of. And I'm tickled that the first time that we come, you're giving us something that's not painting, but we wanted to start here at the paintings, which is where it began.
I kind of wanted to start here because, this small little painting kind of sparked up. I have painted.
The tiny one?
The tiny one kind of sparked up ideas of performance and venturing off. I have experience sewing different projects, but never, really focused in my artistic practice. And I really wanted to incorporate that in my practice and almost make the paintings come to life in performance, video, photography. So I had the idea, I had the vision, and I was so thankful to get support from Manitoba Arts Council. So I have to thank them for supporting this idea and this project, and also being able to show it in a public space and being able to see all the work together, taking it out of my little studio. Just really happy to see how how everything comes together and is displayed. So I guess I've been painting, like you said, I'm a painter. I've been painting. I did undergrad, in Ottawa, University of Ottawa, and then University of Manitoba, and then did my MFA at Concordia University. So strictly in painting, I was painting, and then I did a little stay in Glasgow, and again was painting, kind of always experimenting a little bit with building different things, and especially with this project I wanted to try. The quilt is one of the biggest components of the project, and for me the quilt, I guess, in reference in my painting, was referencing agriculture and landscape, the prairie landscape and the division of the fields, especially on my travels, seeing aerial view of the land, and so painting that, and also how the quilt is just thinking of all the fabrics coming together, and the title itself, mending, almost I guess it's almost a symbol of so many different things, comfort, hope, but it can also have when someone passes away, we make a quilt to remember from the fabrics that we've collected, and there's so much, it has so much meaning to me, the quilt. And so when I'm just the idea of having it draped over you, there's all those ideas kind of come together. I was thinking my ideas really connected with the verse in Ecclesiastes, how the seasons and how there's difficult times in our lives and how we overcome, and how the quilt symbolizes that too. There's positive feeling of comfort, but then grief, and so there's a mixture of that. So that's why I also wanted to include the text, and embroidered the text by hand. I envisioned the quilt to be like basically as long as it would be like difficult to kind of pull like through the fields or with the photographs and the performances I did. Also with the strong winds, like it might not have been this long. I think I added another part, so I would have probably broke my arm.
It's really hard to
like my rotator cuffs, I think. But similar to the text and the stitching, is kind of almost like a spiritual experience, and trying to overcome and hold on so tight and stand on the ladder when I had to like push it in the sand because it was kind of shaking too, but it was almost exciting to have that, like there could be something bad that happens. And that's similarly to my paintings, where there's almost like a lingering kind of, there's maybe something that like the weather could change, or like there's almost like ominous, maybe something kind of ominous lurking, maybe a little bit, and some of the work. Well, the fires too. There's a lot of reference to the fire, and especially last year, well, a few years now, we've had horrible fires at our end of the lake. Fires all around the lake. The air was so strong that you almost couldn't go outside some days. And there's something also in my work that I find I want to attract people to, like almost like there's like a beautiful quality to the fire, but then there's like a devastating. So just that balance of the light and the dark and the.
There's 3 abject fires in the series, and I think I don't want to say they're my favorites, but yours. But I think it's because of that like helplessness.
Yeah. I kind of I don't know. It's always been something I tried to achieve, like. But the balance between something that's like very tragic, but then there's like such positivity too that you could see. Like I like even the title for the other exhibition, renewal. So there's always like light at the end of the tunnel. There's always regrowth, especially when everything's been burnt down. There's still life remaining, and there's bits of butterflies and the strength of nature too, how it regrows. And so it's definitely the environment and nature. Living close to the lake too has been such an influence in my practice. Like I'm really inspired by, because it's such a aspect of our everyday life. Like we converted a cottage, and it's a little bit more secluded, and the winters are like extremely long for us, which is, I mean, for everybody it's long, but we're kind of more isolated. So it hits hard, and just that, especially like on the lake, it's like almost like death has like, it's like so frozen though. Like
that's you on the lake.
That's my daughter. I got my daughter to pose for
on that winter landscape.
Yeah, on the winter landscape. That was a hill in Gimli, and I liked how just the top of the hill. We like Kate Bush, and it kind of reminded me of so being at the top of the hill, standing strong and I like how she almost like disappeared into the landscape, and that's my daughter too, with the fall. And I tried to bring in all seasons too, especially in the text. Every season has its time, and there's.
Well, this is so when I installed these, first I was trying to make them chronological.
Okay.
And ultimately what I did is I did them from smallest to biggest quilt. And I kind of, as I was saying about separating the horizontal ones as well, it almost made it more secular for me, because seasons aren't, some of them are longer than others. Some years are longer than others, and that kind of like it increases in significance almost, which is a way to reconfigure all of those photographs. It's interesting how the experience of handling them changed.
And the seasons, I really wanted to, for color-wise, like the palettes, like the cold blue, and then the leaves changing color. Just the really colorful things. Especially in my paintings, I try to use really, a lot of pastel palettes, but some brightness, some iridescence or metallic.
Yeah, actual glitter in some of them.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess the project itself really pushed me to it's nice to be able to experiment too, and venture away from painting. And now there's new possibilities for to keep pushing on, creating more photographs. So it's exciting for me to try new things and to have the opportunity to be able to work on this, to be able to have made this, this project. So yeah, I don't know.
Something that I was reflecting on was, I'm sorry if there's any questions.
I just had I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the materiality of the painting. Like, I think it's very striking that you're using metallics and iridescence and sparkles and
In this very adult way. That's what
yeah,
struck me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's kind of like I'm attracted to gaudy stuff. Well,
Yeah.
oh my God.
But like, I mean, you could put glitter on anything and it's not going to look.
I like the
That's
kitsch.
right.
Yeah, the balance, the kitsch with the, So that, I don't know. I take a long time and layer a lot of the iridescence. I do like thin layers and I do washes. And sometimes I'll have to wipe down completely if I
Too much, Mélanie.
Yeah, too much. So I wipe it down, and the fact that they're all acrylic too, there's like the dry time's faster too, and then you can make moves a little bit. Like if it's oil, then you get a mess. And some of the things that with oil you might not be able to achieve with acrylic, like really sparkly metallic paints, like a lot of golds and silver. I use so many different,
It kind of, there seems to be a relationship in my mind to the use of those kinds of materials that could be used in a really like crafty or gaudy way, but then you elevated them and they're surprising. And the same could be said for like quilt work, where you're taking something that's sort of scrappy and then the accumulation of it and the work of it transforms it into something else. So for me there's like a conversation about materiality and hierarchy in materials there.
I guess I don't know if we could go closer up, closer to the paintings. And I have done really large paintings, but for a few years now I've reduced my size to really like more miniature. I guess when I started painting, I guess I did a lot of like miniature watercolors, like really intimate. I like the intimacy of how you have to really get pulled in and go close to the work to appreciate the details. But I find that like my experience with painting large scale really influenced the way that I approach these smaller paintings, and balance of like brushwork, letting a chance for like paint to be paint and kind of maybe like more dauby or like thicker application. Sometimes it's hard with acrylic to go thick, but so I find that my like experience with larger painting definitely like I learned so much working so big and then reducing it to small scale. The moves you make are like so quick, so much quicker. But for me, I find that I try to work almost like all of them all at once, and really time to look at them and have them hanging in my studio space to be able to really decide what each painting needs. And sometimes like with the iridescence, like I do a wash and then really look at it and to see if it's working. And but it's all a lot of time. I think it takes sometimes more time to even just be able to look at the painting than time spending painting itself. Like you really have to just whatever feels right, I guess. And but I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
that's really good.
Yeah.
And then the other question that I have is around the process like I wondered about what your, if you use source material for your paintings, or if it's like largely, you know, working from your head or working intuitively, and then how the process of making this physical object and then making these photographs, how that might influence back into the painting.
Yeah, definitely. Like I did get my daughter to pose for a few pieces, and I kind of have different source material that I kind of do like a combination of, I use multiple source materials and then combine them together in one piece. And so for a lot of them, but then the performance itself, that, like, you know, the painting influenced this work, but then when I was taking photographs, then I was using that source material to bring back to the paintings too. Well, in some of these, like, I get, well, that one I added, I don't know if I had a figure at first. I had a different idea, and then when we did take photographs of myself standing or by the lake, I wanted to incorporate that again into the work. I kind of, I have this similar kind of idea in multiple different backgrounds, or like, again, kind of different, that's more like the like, I guess, landscape that's really almost like a field that's dead, or like the water landscape. I guess, anyways, I don't know what I'm saying right now, but so definitely, I guess both feed into one another, and
I think there's parallels with like short stories versus novels, where the short story you have to choose what it's about, right? Or it's not going to be successful. And I think that's why these, as a group, we were talking before about how I've encouraged everybody to come and really just look at one at a time, you know, like ignore everything for a moment and then step back and then just look at one. And also, I think we were talking about the symbolist poet Mallarmé, who wrote that the goal is to nail down the effect that a thing produces, not the thing, right? And so the through line is really weather, which kind of doesn't exist in weather is just the effect that different things, you know, kind of have. And so when you look at these, they're so atmospheric, to the point that the atmosphere is actually the content. And I think, that's why the small scale is so interesting. So when you look at like the various different kind of forest clearing pieces, you know, they're all a different story, even if it's the same subject, right?
I guess one thing I could say about like the female figure, like draped with the quilt itself. I guess I did a lot of paintings. I did a really large painting, Tallest Woman on Earth. And at the time, I guess the idea came from, like, I was dealing with a lot of health issues. I'm so lucky that I even had one child. My daughter's a miracle. So dealing with, like, I had multiple surgeries and dealing with reproductive issues. And it kind of started with these long trains, dresses that were all full of garbage or debris, detritus, and almost debilitating the figures. And but then that became I guess it's similar ideas, but now that's more of a positive thing. Like, I've overcome that, and the quilt is more like a comforting, it's not like intrusive, or like before the figures were very, very, there's almost like a statuesque, like there's almost like frozen in time or something. I do mention being really inspired by cemeteries, like even when I did go to Paris and seeing the veiled statues, the weeping figures in the graveyards. It was like very, just kind of stayed with me. And I did mention in my statement, I walk every day. When I was a little 5-year-old, I'd walk through a cemetery every day to go to school, and seeing the some of the stones. Catholic cemetery in La Broquerie. And so I don't know, the cemetery and the statues, like there's the angelic kind of like monuments. It always really I don't know, it stayed with me for and influenced my paintings. Like same as the experience of living in a small community, Le Broquerie, how it's really influenced my practice and my subject matter, and like I always have reference to the rural, the landscape. I guess the landscape too, I find it's almost could be kind of apocalyptic, where it's like so barren and there's like nothing left. I guess a lot of that came from like experiencing in 97 there was the flood of the century and how people lost their homes, and I had the experience of like sandbagging and seeing the water rise like within the day that we were there, and we had to take a boat out because there was no more road, and so how like the washing away of the land, and how climate change, and so that's definitely something really important in my work, and how we deal with that too, like how just everything, the burdens of like all what's happening in the world, and how we are able to continue to be strong and to live day by day, and try to not let that weigh us down, and so also that text is important. There's time to mourn, but then time to dance, and so there's all that balance. Yeah.
Anybody else? I wanted to piggyback off of Lisa's question about labor as well, because we have the slow work of this, and you were talking about the slowness of these small pieces, but that you've by design assigned yourself this long, slow, repetitive, sedentary work.
Yeah.
And then with all your documentary pieces, so photography and film, that are, kind of evidentiary mediums, right? Where it's like proof that you were here, that the weather was so, that the light was so, are actually documentation of removing that sedentary work. That for a while you were sitting in a chair and stitching and stitching and stitching, but then I went on adventures,
exactly.
and that adds, because the work of painting, mark making, we would say, right, in school, is such a different mark than the footprints in the sand, than the light in these photos. And I wonder if that was part of, so starting with the metaphor of a quilt, because a quilt is always a metaphor, right? It's always the same and different, and then turning it into something literal and documented, if you were thinking about the labor that you were assigning yourself. Long question, sorry.
Like thinking of the piece, like, I don't know if...
Once you set out to make this, you knew that it was going to take a long time, and you were going to be doing a lot of this, right? Was that part of the decision?
I think
that it was hard.
Like I feel like also, like I mentioned, like I did a lot like this in the beginning when I found out I get the Manitoba Arts Council grant. Like it was so cold outside, and it was like, it's like every part of the project had like perfect, like I couldn't go out at that time and I realized it, so it was like perfect to be able to take the time to write everything. The text I kind of added it after, but I found it was like so important to, like, it was an afterthought after I had applied to the, but when I did receive notification that it was supported, then I don't know, it was like just was an epiphany. I have to add this, thinking of, like, I kind of envisioned the whole project and thought that this was such an important part to include. And then by the time I finished that, then it was like perfect timing to get out. And it felt pretty interesting too, because I was kind of like a weather watcher. I felt like like my husband helped me with this piece right here. We woke up like 4 in the morning, got the huge ladder in the truck, went to the lake, and then there's just like it just crazy how the bird flew at the exact time, and just different things that just, like, I don't know, I guess I try to treat my life like that, like certain things are just meant to be and they happen, and time. You can do so much, but you have to kind of just let go and surrender and just be like, hey, well, let this guide me now. You know, I've done all the work I could, and now just let's take, you know, and I guess everything that I like envision of doing and then performed, it kind of led to the next thing, and then that's how it kind of grew and came together.
And in your title, you specifically say 2025, 2026.
Yeah,
so
it's
you
a
also
long-
were like, and it's going to be done at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it true? Have you stopped working
I've
on
stopped
this?
working. Yeah, this is that much. Yeah. I have more cutouts.
Sure.
But I
That's
never
fair.
added it. It was getting like, that was tough to hold. When it got wet, I couldn't even lift it up. Like I bunched it up and it became like a bird. But that's kind of what I wanted to, and that's what I wrote when I applied. Like that was a really important part of it, being difficult and like labor and like to pull it, you know, in certain videos or photos. Well, this one too, like if it was just have been half the size, it wouldn't have had the same effect, how it caught the wind. And yeah, so.
But it's interesting how this is all made of individual pieces, and there it comes together
Becomes
as one,
one,
it comes
yeah.
alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The material, like, do you know these pieces of material?
No, where I live, there's a lot of, there's a big German Mennonite community, and there's a lot of a thrift store, amazing like rolls of fabric for a fraction of the price. And I wanted, like, there's so much from different times, like, you know, some are more like vintage, older, like some are new fabric. I also wanted more like to bring some of the shininess from the paintings, more satin. Yeah, so I tried to mix as many fabrics, but then I also, some of the patterning on the fabric, I did a little bit of embroidery to kind of continue the, some of the floral kind of designs in it as well. But I really enjoy.
I want to point out too, I left the burrs.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
Twigs and leaves.
Oh, I know,
I
it
left
was
them.
stuck in there. I know. Yeah, I didn't. It was hard to even
I was
fold.
like, look, it happened.
It's so hard to fold. It's so, because if my kitchen's small and even my studio, and it's like it's so yeah. Here you have space to like fold it, but anyways, yeah.
I wonder too about the color choices in the quilt, because it really feels like your palette. Like when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's very Mélanie Rocan. You know what I mean? And then I wondered, you know, like in these pieces, were you responding to the colors of the quilt, or did these pieces influence the quilt choices?
It was more responding to the quilt. Like I kind of, like I'd go to the thrift store and I'd just be gravitated to whatever kind of caught my eye, and then I tried to layer it. I mean, some have repetition that I've altered, like you know, if two blue. Well, I mean, I kind of like that when the two similar color kind of touch. Maybe, it's kind of something like. Something that's bad kind of becomes good. I don't know. I like that
I like it too.
opposition
I feel like it makes
of
it
like
feel more random.
yeah.
Because
Even
then
in
we're just pulling
painting,
things.
in my practice, like something that could look kind of like the gaudiness or like the awkwardness or like it adds to the piece and it gives it kind of something more.
Why did you make the beautiful embroidery and all of this, and then the rest of it isn't? Why?
Yeah, I guess I stopped because that was the whole text, and I guess if I were to continue, maybe I might have want more time to like do more of like the floral kind of embroidery, because I really loved. It was so like peaceful. Like it's kind of funny because sometimes I was watching crime documentaries, so it's a little bit weird. But it was like I get lost in, well, same as painting, where like that meditative, and especially like that scale too, you can kind of get lost in the zone. For me, it's very cathartic, making work and being able to all the things that you're dealing with, that moment, you kind of lose touch on everything, and it's definitely, if I wasn't painting, I don't know if my mental state would be at the same. So it's definitely, yeah.
When my girls were in high school, they said, "Don't you want to go and paint one?"
Oh yeah.
When you would be getting credit.
Yeah, like I'd be gone for 2-3 hours. They were free.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something I have to do every day. I feel like, yeah, and I also have a family business with my husband, Slow Tunes, and we're painting all the time too. So we're just like, but it keeps us busy, and living where we are too. You know, it is quite isolated, and but it makes, I don't know, for me, we love it. Like, I'm a little bit of a hermit sometimes too. And
Lake Winnipeg, you're on?
yeah, Lake Winnipeg. Yeah. Well, we're not right at. We're like maybe 5-minute walk from. We're not lakefront, but really close. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I love it there. It's
Inspiring, it sounds like.
inspiring. Yeah, definitely inspiring. And there's so much going on too in the summer. Yeah, the Islingadingadurans. You might come for that.
Yeah.
It's an Icelandic town, and they always have fun. Like, there's a film festival. There's always something in that area, and yeah.
I thought when you were talking, because you mentioned many times the grant from the Manitoba Arts Council, how it allowed you to do it, and I'm thinking about how often the quilting has been unpaid work, almost exclusively throughout history, that it's been unpaid work that has, and I think so much about when you put something in a gallery, it kind of becomes useless, you know, and so like that's what changes something from an object to an artwork, is that its utility has been taken away from it, and so like the paid work of doing this useless object making, right? Like as far as functionality, right? I think is a really interesting. I hadn't tapped into all of the questions of labor that are involved in this exhibition until this conversation. Really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's
It
any.
feels unending. Like, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's with the scale of the quilt is so important. Like you say, the weight of it almost becomes a burden, or like maybe a responsibility. You know, and just thinking back to when you're talking about the painting that you had made of the tallest woman in the world, and like how that painting felt more like that was that plug-in.
It showed a plug-in Maison too. Yeah,
Right.
Maison des Artistes. Yeah.
I remember seeing it, but thinking that those things felt like something that was forced upon the figure, whereas these ones, the figure has somehow created it, so it feels like there's more agency in terms of the weight, right? Like the figure's choosing in some way to take on this weight, and like with joy and pose in the video, right, where it's so beautiful, and the weight of the quilt has been lifted. Yeah, it's interesting, and I like the tension of those things, and the very usefulness of quilting, and yet the like
I can't even move it.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped whenever I was like too difficult to manage. Like because even putting it in my car was like me and my daughter were like struggling. Well, the day we went out when it was the blizzard on the lake, and we were so cold. Like, even dealing with the elements, like we're frozen, and just it's. Anyways, I like how that it translates, like, because you've seen some of my older paintings and how like it became invasive, like all the debris, but this was more like you choose it, and I guess also it's almost like I feel like maybe having gone through certain things in your life, and then it gives you the strength and makes you strong, and you're proud of all the things you've gone through. And I redid that painting in a smaller version for now I forget her name, she's in a wheelchair. She's from Yvette Sydney, yeah. And it meant so much for her, and she wanted me to put the wheelchair wheels and certain symbols, because it's like what she's gone through, and she said it meant so much, like it's like evidence of all, but then you're standing proud, like you're standing strong and tall, and like tallest woman on earth, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Oh,
More questions? I can question forever. Let me check the time first, though.
I'm glad that you came. It's a small group, but
Small but mighty?
at least I wasn't talking to myself.
It's so great we get to ask
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of questions
Yeah,
and find
yeah.
out all the behind the scenes stories. Yeah.
So the one other thing that I notice about this is like the historiosity of it. Thinking about how noticing that an agricultural landscape looks like a patchwork quilt is a really modern thing, right? You wouldn't have been able to see those lines, and the lines probably wouldn't have been as straight, right? Before. The way that those things are parceled is very modern, and yet you've taken this very, I always call it fey, the kind of symbolist approach that you take to your painting. This kind of Grimm's fairy tale environment that you create, right? Which isn't, antique, but the point is timelessness. The point is a world that's kind of occupied by magic and gods and forces of good and evil. That's just something that I really find noteworthy about this. Like you've taken away every indication of modernity, but added all of this very personal historiosity into it, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you say timelessness too, because I always, in some of the work, like even some people were saying, a reference to like pre-Raphaelite paintings, or definitely the symbolist painters like Moreau, and so there's also like an age, or like, I don't know, but I guess for this, but I feel like some of the fabrics might have a little bit of time, but like 70s,
oh, yeah,
it's a
sure.
mixture.
You see those prints in the middle. There's always a way to kind of like note those things, but
I'm curious that everything is a square.
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't use rectangles, triangles, hexagons, whatever, because as a former quilter, those are things making patterns with different shapes. So I'm just curious.
I guess because of the scale of it, I had to buy special scissors that because I couldn't, I needed to, they're huge, or like my biggest scissors, they're like Edward Scissorhands scissors, and to be able to cut that much fabric, and then to allow myself enough time to make other, I didn't want to be that laborious on because it is, it's part of the show, but it was like a prop for the other work too, but it has so much importance in the show, but I made that decision because then it was easier. I had a jig of exactly the same square and cut, because it would have took the whole year to just work on the quilt if it was, really different shapes. And it just simplified. I thought, I have to kind of, because you do have to have a timeline. You can't take your whole year and then never finish the projects. This was very labor intensive too, the painting, so I had to figure out my schedule, so my big scissors and the square shape was the best idea for this.
And what Lisa referred to as like the infinity of it, because it's all the same, you imagine that it would continue to be all the same forever. That it could even, right?
I still have quite a bit of fabric, but I cut myself off when it was too difficult, and I was thinking shipping too, the weight.
I have to tell the people, this entire show came in a box this big.
Yeah.
Until I started unpacking it, I was like, there's supposed to be paintings in here.
the quilt, I put it in a shrink. That really was good. I was like, man, this is good. Because it's like so big when you fold it, and then it was like,
It was magical.
yeah, it's like a magic box where stuff keeps popping out.
It was. And I mean, this is why, like going back to the original, the introduction of the conversation, spending time with each of these individually, the reason that I am kind of insisting on that is because as I was unpacking them, I got to do that, right?
Oh, yeah,
I got to pick one up and put it down and pick
Okay.
another one. And I think that it just gave me, like I said last night, just goosebumps, each one after the other as it unrolled in a collection of short stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and the opportunity to to be able to show.
It's an honor to have it in here and to have it in dialogue with this other show.
And the amount of time too. I like how usually it's so short.
Yeah.
Like, I'm usually show at Paul Petro in Toronto, and it's only
Just a
like
couple
1
weeks,
month
right?
or not even a month. It's 3 weeks, so
Yeah.
it's so short. So more people be. Is there a lot of schools?
We'll get to a lot of
tours and
schools.
stuff?
Barbara here is going to be talking to a lot of the students.
Yeah, nice.
And I love it for the summer show because a lot of our audience are people who are traveling through or taking weekend breaks from camping. So they'll have just experienced this kind of
nice.
feral spaces, right? These Winnipeg spaces, or these Manitoba spaces. So it's really perfect in here right now. There was the time. It was the perfect time. Yeah.
And with the other show too, I think it's such a
Totally.
perfect.
Totally. Yeah. I joked last night about talking to a group of quilters about is it possible for quilting to be a fine art? And
Of course it is.
yeah, 45 minutes later they were like, we've gone on too long. Stop talking about it. Yes, we get it. So
There's a whole journal devoted to artistic quilts that are created as pieces of art.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think what we'll see is even utilitarian quilts are going to get elevated to that point. Yeah.
It seems so painterly too, because some of them from the photographs almost so painterly. The pigment with the thread and layering bits of fabrics together.
And
Yeah,
other
so it's
objects included within, almost like a collage.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And many of the ones on the other side have different kinds of mark making. Have charcoal, have paint, have markers. Included. So,
Different media.
Yeah, exactly.
I could totally imagine this show in conversation with Wally Dion. Did you see
Wally
his
Dion.
show at the U of M Art Gallery in the spring, I guess, winter spring? But he does star blankets with like a translucent, very light
I've
material.
seen images.
There's an interesting relationship around technique and weight and purpose, like the different,
Some fabrics are not conducive to that because of the way it's constructed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Who among us hasn't broken our hearts trying to make a little piece of organza into what we want it to be? Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For your time, for coming.